Let's see, I guess
11:51.
we're going to call the meeting to order at 11:51. And I need to, let's see. I guess we're going to go ahead and get the meeting minutes approved. Did anybody notice any changes or anything that we need to possibly make, or does everything look okay?
Make a motion to accept the minutes as
Okay, and remind me your name.
Leslie Dean.
Leslie, thank you, Leslie. Okay, and do I have a second?
I second.
Okay. Bobby, okay, Bobby. Okay, well, welcome everybody to the SHAC meeting for today. And do we have any new people? I know that Becky has a couple of guests that she would like to introduce, and I know we have Emma that's here that will have her introduce herself as well. You want to go first?
Yeah, I'll go to go first. Hi everyone, my name is Emma Lattimore. I'm with the Texas Department of State Health Services. I'm part of a new team. It's a youth behavioral health team, and right now we're primarily focusing on suicide prevention. I do have a few flyers if anybody is interested, and I have some business cards if anybody wants to reach out to me with any questions or need any resources for mental health. So nice to meet everyone. I'm glad to be here. Thank you.
All right, so I'm Becky Scaston from First Look Pregnancy Center. Ochiga came last time. He's one of our new members. He works with our care management team. And this is Michael Martin, who's with the Metro SHAC, and he has been tasked with getting them organized. So he's doing a really great job there, and I invited him to come see how walks and functions. I think we're awesome. So, and then this is Lexi Stuba. She's one of our SAGU interns at First Look, and she's also a social work student degree program, and so I'd like her to come see what we do.
Okay, welcome y'all. Anybody else that's new to our chat? Ms. Tina.
My name is Heather Coe. I'm with the Texas Baptist Home for Children, and I'm the teen pregnancy care coordinator. I coordinate with all the teen parenting liaisons in Ellis County, not just Jackson County, and provide services for young parents.
Awesome, welcome. Anyone else?
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Hello.
My name is Rita Hunterstage, and I'm the Community Coalitions Director for Drug Prevention Resources.
And she's going to be doing a presentation for us here in just a few minutes. Anybody else? Okay, well, welcome everybody. Well, you're up. We're going to have drug prevention resources presentation.
Inspired to see how many resources we have in our communities. It is always just so refreshing. So how's everyone feeling about Thanksgiving next week? Hopefully you started your shopping right in the grocery store. You know, I'm super proud of myself because I already bought my ingredients and my turkey. Although I brought my turkey back and I told the cashier something about this turkey just seems a little foul. There we go. No, there's no way. I will be that one that's like rushing for that last can of yams or something. That will be me the day before Thanksgiving. So my name is Rihanna Liversage. I am a director with Drug Prevention Resources. I oversee our coalition work. And I have a degree in community health education, so I'm a community health education specialist with a minor in nutrition and food science. Prior to this work, I worked in school districts for 9 years, so I was a nutritionist in a school district. Then during COVID, I became the interim nutrition director, and I was so excited because I thought this is really what I wanted to do, was be a nutrition director. And once I got into being a nutrition director, I thought, how quickly can I get out of this? Because I missed the kids. I loved all the nutrition education I was doing and the outreach that I was doing. And as much as I loved our nutrition department, I thought, I really want to be more on the front line of prevention. And coming here to Drug Prevention Resources has been a blessing for me because that's exactly what they were looking for. So just a little bit about our organization. We started right after Prohibition, so we've been around for 87 years. And we have our youth prevention program, which is primarily curriculum-based in schools. And then we have our health and wellness program, which is our response to COVID. And it's primarily mental health focused and stress reduction focused. Then we have our 4 coalitions. So we have Impact Navarro, Waxahachie, Red Oak, and Dallas. And we're super excited because we're going to be starting a coalition in Ennis as well. And so we're going to, since we're in Waxahachie, we're going to talk about our Impact Waxahachie program. So a lot of times when we say drug prevention resources, this is the kind of stuff that comes through people's heads, right? We think about some of those anti-drug, anti-narcotics campaigns that took place, don't do drugs. But we are not direct intervention. We do not provide treatment, although we provide referrals and so forth. Our focus is really a little more broad. We have our coalitions that really are focused on building resiliency in the community. So we bring people together across multiple sectors, and we build resiliency by identifying what are some of the preventative factors that we can implement, while also reducing some of those risk factors. And what does that look like? So we know that individual behavior is made up by a lot of things. There's a lot of layers that influence individual behavior. So if we're looking at an individual, that's going to be more of knowledge and attitudes. If we're looking at culture, that's more organizational. Community and our organizational relationships. And this is where our coalitions primarily operate. And then we also have public policy, which is more legislation. And why we look at this is because since we know that individual well-being and health is made up of a lot of different things, we need to come into our communities and identify what are some of the needs in our community, what are some of the social determinants of health because of that big influence that it has on our behavior. So we look at things like access to care, we look at education attainment, we look at the socioeconomics, and then we also look at the social networks and the neighborhood. What does the built environment look like? The access to food, the transportation. These are the things that help us identify what our need is in our communities. And these are also very important because we know, like if you look at this diagram here by the Kaiser Family Foundation, that individual behavior is about 30% influenced by genetics. The rest is external and environmental factors, which the good news to that is it means that we have an opportunity to influence. 70% we have an opportunity to influence. So specifically here in Ellis County, some of the things that we've been looking at are access to mental health care providers. Now this is something that we've been looking at across all of our coalitions, and we pretty much see in Dallas, in Ellis, in Navarro, that there is a limited access to mental health care providers. So just looking at this statistic here, about 76.7 mental health care providers for every 100,000 population, which is much lower than the national average of 281 per 100,000. And then the Texas state average is 131 per 100,000. So that definitely is an indicator of a need. Also depression, this is just looking at one population of Medicare beneficiaries, but 20.7 of Medicare for service population have been diagnosed with depression. And then we've also been looking at education. This is something we're also seeing across all 3 counties, as that the reading proficiency has been lower. And across the nation, we've been looking at test scores, and post-COVID, as that data is starting to come in, that test scores are falling. There's actually the ACT scores are the lowest they've been in 3 decades. So this is some of the needs assessment that we've identified for Ellis County. So putting this all together in this need, our goal for Waxahachie, Impact Waxahachie, is to increase community partnership, participation across all sectors, provide resource and programs that will support the desired outcome, which is to reduce substance use behaviors, create a community environment that fosters positive behavioral health and wellness and addresses environmental factors that lead to poor health and substance use behaviors, and increase community awareness through the dissemination of health information. So what does all that look like? I'm glad you asked, because we have just a little short slideshow to illustrate a little bit of the work that we've been doing across our coalitions. No alcohol in that, by the way. Okay. And just recently, we've been working a little bit more with Waxahachie ISD. Sandy invited us to sponsor some of the Lighthouse for Learning events. So just this week, we did Painting with a Twist for some of our parents. And then last month, we did a Build-A-Bear activity, which was more of a parent-child bonding activity to build bears. And we tied that in with building kindness and bearing each other's burdens, and just did a little bit of character building. So that was really fun. We also brought in some DEA presentations for Red Ribbon Week, and we brought in a couple of helicopters, which was really exciting for the kiddos. So we've been really excited to be partnering a little bit with WISD. So here we go. So our Hidden in Plain Sight presentation, so we do several different presentations, but we're really excited about this one. We've been doing this one for a little while, but we recently, well, not very recently, it's been a little while, during COVID we received a grant to renovate our travel trailer so that we could make a mobile presentation version of our Hidden in Plain Sight. So we remodeled the trailer to look like a youth's bedroom, and we use props to illustrate how substances can be hidden in a bedroom. So we take this on the road, and we get a lot of requests in school districts to do presentations for education staff, for parent groups. We recently had a request for a church. Where else we're at? So anywhere where we can service adults and just bring more awareness, we are there. And lastly, just a few priority areas that we have for Impact Waxahachie based on our needs assessments. This is some of our priorities for this year. So our most important one that we've really been focusing on is improving access to care. So what can we do to help improve that access? And one thing that we came up with was life coaching. And so this is something that's available in the community regardless. There are no income, gathering or anything, just this is for anybody. And this is one-on-one life coaching, and it's virtual. And the reason we had come up with this is that we know that depression and anxiety rates had increased during COVID, but we wanted to know a little more specifically why, so that we could know how to address it. So we pulled some health poll data, and we saw that individuals reporting that they were having difficulty sleeping, their daily lives had changed, and so they were adapting to new life schedules. Emotional eating was something that we saw. So we developed life coaching around this health poll data. And I'll say within the first 3 months that we started this, I think we did 250 life coaching sessions. So we recently added more grant money to that, so we're really excited for that. As we looked at the built environment, and I'm sure it's not a surprise that both Ellis and Navarro County suffer a little bit when it comes to public transportation. And so when we're looking at the number of healthcare providers per 100,000 populations, we know that a lot of people are probably having to go a distance to receive care. Maybe they're needing to go to Dallas and whatnot. And with having limited public transit, that can be very difficult for some, especially in some counties that we cover, like Navarro, where households have fewer motor vehicles than the state average. So we developed a health rideshare program where we actually can book a Lyft ride for an individual that's needing to get to and from a healthcare related appointment. It could be treatment, mental health, primary care physician. We just don't cover holistic health like massage therapy or so there is that as well. Our support to learning, we've been doing a lot of enrichment activities and after-school programs with school districts and churches. And really the idea is just to reduce stress and remove some of those things that might be leading to self-medicating and coping. And so we've been providing some really fun stuff. This has been really fun for us. And so we've been providing yoga and something we call art mindfulness, which is really just using colors and painting to focus on breathing techniques. We have our Let's Talk Wellness series. We do a lot of these classes at Navarro College where we talk about various wellness topics, from healthy relationships and avoiding dating violence to body image and building self-confidence. And then we also have our character building activities where we'll often tie some kind of activity like the Build-A-Bears or planting into our character building. And one of the things that we really love to do here in Waxahachie is to tie in some of these activities before testing week. And we piloted this in Corsicana, and it went really well, where we came in the week before testing, and we provided just some stress reduction activities for the kiddos to reduce some of that testing anxiety. And so we would love to do that here as well. And our last priority project is going to be to build a literacy garden. So as we were looking at those reading levels, we thought, what are some fun, like innovative ways that we could promote and encourage reading? And so when I worked in the school district, one of my projects was to put in 8 literacy gardens. And the literacy gardens, like a storybook garden, are just an extension of the classroom to create a fun and exciting environment to read in. So we are working on this project, trying to identify a good place to put in a literacy garden. So if you have any thoughts or ideas, I'd love to hear from you. And with that, it was a pleasure to be able to come and speak with you guys today. I don't know when my last slide isn't coming up. Doing something wrong? Well, the last slide is just my contact information. Yeah, which I can certainly give to Mrs. Posque has it. And we would love, if there's anything that we can do to partner with you or provide services to you, we would love the opportunity to do so.
Thank you very much. Leave that up for a few minutes. All right. Let's see, the next thing that we have on the agenda is our SHAC updates. I know for Reach Council, I was going to share a few things, and then I'm going to have Tom kind of speak a little bit about the Red Ribbon Week that we had done. I wanted to let you know that we're actually doing we're partnering with the Jordan Elizabeth Harris Foundation to do what they call a QPR suicide prevention training. It's going to be free. You just have to sign up. I'll have more of the information and I'll share it with Lissa to where she can maybe send it out to the group. So if anybody is interested in participating in this free training, it's going to be at the Waxahachie Police Department at 6 p.m. on December the 6th. And we call it Talk About QPR. So we will have tacos available for a light dinner before the training. And but it's going to be some really good information on how to learn the signs. We actually had her on our radio show to talk about some of the things. And one of the key things that she pointed out is if you notice somebody is having a bad day and you ask them if they're thinking about harming themselves and they say no, you need to kind of rephrase the question and ask again more directly. And so I found it really interesting, so I'm really looking forward to the training myself. Also, we're going to have the home pop-up event that's going to be coming up this spring. We don't have the exact dates just yet. We're still trying to work out the logistics on it. But it's available to all of our school districts in Ellis County and their students to be able to come in and get free prom attire. Most of these, especially the dresses, are new. We just had, I think, close to 200 dresses that were donated by whatchamacallit at the end of this last season, so there'll be new dresses that are going to be in there. We're also accepting gently used and clean dresses, so if someone has prom dresses that they would like to donate, because most of these dresses sit in the closet and never get worn again. So if anybody has one that they would like to donate. We're also asking for suits. We were really surprised at how many of our male students came in to look for suits and things. And so we're a little bit more limited on suits, so we're really working very hard on trying to get suits donated this year. So there'll be more of a selection. The students will come in and participate in about a 15-minute educational piece where they do various activities, and once they do that, then they're free to go in and begin their shopping. We're also looking at possibly having shoes and some other accessories that may be available this year. But I'll be sharing the information once I get things more tied down on when and where, most likely at the Civic Center again, and it'll probably be another 2-day event that we'll do. Let's see, and I'll ask Tom if he'll share about the Red Ribbon Week.
Yeah, just a quick summary of some of the services we provided during Red Ribbon Week. We're able to provide in-person presentations, lunch table setups to pretty much almost all the campuses, elementary, junior high, high school. We're able to do some good informational things, hand out some information, do some swag giveaways. I think the kids enjoyed it a lot. I know some of the counselors told me they were talking about it afterwards, so always happy to hear that. I'm also able to do banners for the campuses as well. A few campuses also wanted ribbons, so we're able to do all those things. We don't have the total numbers yet, so we're still compiling everything for the state, but we got to do quite a few of the campuses here in Waxahachie, and it was a good year. We had recorded videos as well for the schools that couldn't fit in the live presentations, so we're glad to have that flexibility to fit it into a packed schedule, get some type of information, and we're able to get that fit in as well.
Yeah, it was very busy. I did a lot of the lunchroom activities, and the students kept us really busy. We asked questions regarding tobacco and vaping, and then they got to choose a prize afterwards. Whether they answered the question correctly, we told them that you learned something new today if they didn't answer the question correctly. So it was really fun to get the opportunity to interact with the kids. Let's see. I did want to mention we did do the DEA prescription drug take back. The weather didn't cooperate just really good, so our collection wasn't as big as normal, but we did still have collections that were turned in for Ellis County. I was hoping to get the numbers back from the DEA today, but she didn't have them quite available to me yet. So I may share that at our next SHAC Meeting. So the next thing on the agenda is our WISD security update, and I know Lisa is going to report out.
Lee actually is going to handle that.
Well, and Josh Oliver couldn't be with us today, and Lisa was ready because didn't know if I was going to be able to be here today. But we're fully staffed within our safety and security department, both from the Waxahachie Police Department, our SROs, and our safety and security team, our security officers, school marshals here in the district. As far as the state, we're in the audit season. I don't know if we made a report to SHAC at our last meeting, but our crisis management team had its recent meeting yesterday. The governor's office, TEA, School Safety Center, all working together this summer in the wake of the Uvalde tragedy to work with school districts all across the state. There's 1,100 ISDs plus charter schools and other K-12 schools. The state is coordinating with each of the regions, regional service centers, ours is Region 10, to come do audits. And they will let the school know each month if they're going to be in your district or not. In October, we were informed that we would have an auditor come to some of our campuses. We weren't told which. but our campuses were prepared. The audit consists of an auditor trying to gain entry through up to 3 exterior doors before going to the front office to be checked in. Then the front office, with the expectation that they be asked for ID, asked why they're there, have their ID run against a background check to be allowed, then access with a administrator, principal, assistant principal, could be counsel, to walk the campus, check all exterior doors. And if you are a district where the expectation is that interior doors be locked where instruction is taking place, where kids are, and we are one of those districts, they check the interior doors as well. 2 campuses were inspected in October, no findings. And so I won't even identify those campuses because the expectation is in the event we have findings, we will need to put that matter on the agenda for our crisis management team, take action. We will need to then put that matter on the school board agenda with an assurance that we take action. And we've talked about findings in closed session, and they're not wanting to shame any campuses. And so in the spirit of not wanting to shame any campuses, we're not highlighting the 2 campuses where it also went. But the 2 campuses where the auditor went, all was well, no findings. We hope that's going to be the continued case. We were told by the state that every district would be contacted at least once during 2022, and that 75% of all campuses would be inspected by the end of the 22-23 school year. So we've had 2 campuses inspected. We were not contacted in November, so I can say with reasonable assurance that here today, tomorrow, and the first couple of days when we get back from Thanksgiving, we won't have one of those audits. But in December, we may get contacted and have some more campuses inspected, and then all the way through the end of the year. Also, the triannual audit requirement that existed before this year, before the Uvalde tragedy, every 3 years, every district is required to do an audit of all its campuses. And so our crisis management team is taking that on in earnest. We've divided out responsibilities within the team. We have not commenced the audit process yet, but that audit will be a comprehensive look at everything related to a campus. At least 4 hours spent at every campus on one day for drop off to lunch or lunch to pick up. Interviews of key staff members, the administrators, counselor, nurse, teacher, and aide, just to get their feel for how things are going. And with some specific questions the School Safety Center wants you to ask. It's not completely paint by numbers. You don't have to just stick to the rigid script. The script is good. It's intentional. So we will do at least that, plus go wherever concerns may lead. And what's required is that the crisis management team complete the audit, make a report to the school board. Much of that report is confidential. They want candor. They want you to be honest. They want you to see what's wrong, but then also not fear that by identifying something, you're now telling people with malicious intent where the weak spots are. So you don't publish that, but you do make that report to your school board, and then you make a report to the School Safety Center that you've taken those steps. What's not absolutely required, but what's understood, what should be, and what we do here is that we then take action for any remedial measures that might be identified. So anywhere we see issues either systemically throughout the district or campus by campus, that's where we then prioritize our help. As far as funding for help, this is the season of grants. From the federal government, there are opportunities then from the state government. We know the state has a $27 billion budget surplus this year. Now, there are some constitutional statutory provisions that limit the complete exhaustion of that surplus, but there's some money for the state to spend, and genuinely, I mean, it's easy for me to say this, but I think it's felt throughout the state, there's really no higher priority than school safety. At least $400 million has already been allocated specifically for school safety, in addition to whatever comes from the next biennium, from the next cycle. So we haven't gotten specifics yet on what the application process will be. We know that there's 1,100 school districts plus charter schools, so that $400 million can get stretched thin. but we know we want, wherever we don't have bullet resistant, or at least shatter resistant glass, we want to put a film on our exterior glass, on our vestibules, and on our interior glass. And when I say bullet resistant, it's not completely 100% bulletproof, but it does make the glass shatterproof so that if someone shot at it, they wouldn't be able to then run through it. And we saw that recently, one of our neighboring school districts, Duncanville, and it was in the news when this occurred. A bad guy tried to penetrate into the school that way and couldn't. And their police force was able to get to the school quick. That perpetrator was not able to harm anyone. We know in Waxahachie, WPD will be at our campus very soon, truly within seconds. At most of all of our secondary campuses, we already have SRO presence in addition to our security officers. But we know we will be the #1 priority with folks coming to us. We just want those time barriers, and so we want that glass, the film on the glass. We also believe we're going to be prioritizing kiosks, exterior audio-visual two-way conferencing, so that before someone gets to the vestibule, every one of our campuses has a secure vestibule. Before they get to that vestibule, they would then identify themselves, state their purpose, and the receptionist could identify, as the person here for a good school-related reason. So we know we want to do those two things. And then Ms. Kubin has a grant-funded opportunity that exists outside of the state process right now, a live one, to get us some hardwire communication for a panic button at our reception desk. So all of our campuses, we've got the duress digital system, wireless system. We've got hardline telephones, but to give our receptionists, just in the event someone got through the front door, got through the vestibule, got into the front office, granted the receptionist still is the one that controls whether they're going to be able to go into the campus, but nevertheless, if something bad is happening, much like a bank teller would have, or someone at a store would have, we've got a great opportunity to give a panic button into the receptionist to have that extra layer of alert system. So there's a few opportunities that we know exist, and we know our audit process will help us identify more things that we'll be able to do as we work to complete this school year, and as we then contemplate the 23-24 school year. So Belvis Nolan just arrived. He's a busy man, so very glad he's here. Is there anything else you'd like to add, or?
No, I think you covered pretty much it.
Any questions?
I actually did want to ask a question, because I know that a couple of school districts in Ellis County have had somebody coming on to their school parking lots and taking catalytic converters.
Yeah.
Have y'all had any issues on any of the campuses?
We dealt with a couple things, but that's been turned over to PD, so it's not a criminal issue on our end, so they're dealing with it right now. So we've had an issue or two, but we're still monitoring. We got people out in the parking lot at most of our campus, and we're doing general drive-bys in most of the campus here in the district, just to keep extra eyes and ears out there to make sure, but right now, PD's aware of, and they're dealing with it.
Thank you, Ray. Appreciate it. Okay, next up we have Ginger Robinson, who's going to give us the counseling update.
So just a few things we've been doing in the district since our last meeting in September. We did have our September Suicide Awareness Month. We had a parent presentation on September 26th for our parents, and then we did presentations through the grant. And then coming up right now, we have canned food drives going on across the district to benefit Waxahachie Care. We work with those. We tried to get a lot of food items that they needed for Thanksgiving, so we're kind of wrapping those up. Some go through the first week of December. We have Night of Wonder coming up on December 13th. That is where all of our churches have adopted our students from across every campus. Our churches adopt our students, and they give them Christmas. They help our parents with a Christmas meal, and with Christmas gifts. So that's coming up. And then we also have been working, a new thing this year we have is the Kiwanis. It's their, the Kiwanis Waxahachie organization was here a long time ago. They kind of folded, now they're back. And they have a clothes closet that they run. They open it one day a week for our counselors to go in if they have students that need clothes, or of course on an emergency basis. At the beginning of this school year, families got to go in and pick outfits. So we keep that going year-round, one day a week. It's open for our students. So that's it. Next month, our next meeting, I hope to have an update on Mind Above Matter. They came and presented in September. We're just working out logistics on where that's going to be located and all the little things that have to go into opening up a facility like that. So next meeting, I hope to have that. All right, thank you, Ginger.
Okay, we have Melissa Bousquet that's going to give us the WISD health updates.
Good morning, all. Afternoon, all. First, in the spirit of gratitude, I want to thank a couple of people. First of all, Sherry, who has served so diligently to be our chairman these last few years, and she's done such an excellent job, and I don't say thank you enough, so thank you, Sherry. Secondly, I want to thank Lisa Ridelkeeper. This meeting would not happen if it was not for her. Everything that involved in the actual work, she did. So, thank you. As far as nursing updates go, we're still very diligently watching the COVID/illness situation. We seem to have a lot of viruses competing for the top spot. So, fortunately, COVID hasn't been terrible at all. We're very blessed by that. We're going to see what happens with the holidays and all our togetherness and hanging out with each other and see how that affects it. We do have a lot of illness, however. There's a lot of respiratory viruses going around, stomach viruses, things like that. So the nurses are very diligent about sharing with me and with each other about what their attendance situation is and what they're seeing in clinics. So we monitor that very closely. So just to let you know, we're keeping an eye, and if you ever have any concerns about that kind of thing, please reach out to me. We've had 2 sessions of drug testing this year. And in those 2 sessions with the 2 high schools and the 3 junior high campuses, we've only had 1 positive. We had 1 positive for THC. So that's pretty good, I think. I'm pretty encouraged by that. But it's going well. We haven't really had any issues there at all. That's about it. Do you guys have any questions for me? Anything for nursing? All right, we're all getting off easy today.
Okay, was Dustin here today?
Sure.
Okay.
No, but I second what he says.
Okay, so Dustin Bittaker is going to talk about the coordinated school health update.
I will, and it will be a very coordinated approach to child health. It involves child nutrition, it involves physical education, and then of course counseling. And so because of the number of people that it involves, excuse me, we're at a point now where we had a Zoom, I think back in February or April of last year, where we talked with the company that we're wanting to move forward with. We didn't budget for it in time. Once we got the quotes and figured out the time required for training, for the physical education side, it's a 6-hour training. And so we're kind of balancing the different things that are happening in our district right now. If kids are out sick, then staff are out sick, and so we can't get substitutes to cover for teachers to go to a 6-hour training. So we're trying to balance that, and as we start building out our school calendar for next year, building in some time where we can do some of these required trainings across the district and then working with child nutrition again. I know that we're doing these things in our cafeterias anyways. Our kids are getting well-balanced meals, so I'm not concerned about the food that they're getting. We know that they're getting physical exercise outside. Our last meeting we talked about, or 2 meetings ago, we talked about the app to check the weather, so we know our kids are getting outside, they're physically active throughout the day. The SEL piece is another side from the counseling piece that we need to focus on, and so Ms. Robinson has already started working to form an SEL, a committee in the district to look at SEL programs, and this is one that we can implement into part of this. So we'll move forward and proceed with this company. It is catch.org if you want to look it up. We had a Zoom, I think it was back in February or March. So they came and we talked with them then. So we will move forward and plan for this next year, and they work with our school calendar to make sure we have time built in to get everyone trained, needs to have the training, and then work with all the groups to this. So that's our update from this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good job.
Okay. Well, that is all that we currently have on the agenda for today. I did want to remind everybody the remaining meeting dates that we have for the SHAC Committee. So our next one will be on January the 19th. We have February the 23rd and April the 19th. And if no one has anything else that they would like to share, then if I would have, yes, ma'am.
The next meeting should be back in our normal spot at the administration building, which you have no idea how grateful I am for that. So just to let y'all all know, we should be done with renovations and we will be back across town. So, and sorry for the confusion on having to move here this time.
Anything else?
That's all. Sorry.
All right, if I can get a motion to adjourn. Becky makes the motion to adjourn, and
Ryan seconded.
Ryan seconded, and I'm sure that it's all in favor. Thank y'all very much. I would like to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving and a great holiday season.